Hey everyone, and welcome to Cozying Up with the Clear Cut, where we get up close and personal with women that inspire us. Today I'm so excited to be sitting down with Caroline Crawford Patterson. She is a wedding content creator and designer. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be here. I watch the clips on TikTok. I listen to the podcast, so I'm so honored to be on.
And I'm a fan of yours too. I was just saying that I've been following your TikTok since before you got married for all of your tips. I was like looking at all of the dresses that you were choosing for your bachelorette party. So I know it all. Yeah. So tell us, how did you get into, was it first when you were planning your wedding that you started content creating, or what was that journey like?
If I'm being honest with you, I didn't really ever want to do TikTok as something that I was being original on, or so on and so forth. I wanted a creative outlet, but I am the oldest of all my sisters, and TikTok was just this app for dancing.
Yes.
And I'm this is that's not something that is going to work for me. And so when I posted my first TikTok, it was because I was working on wedding planning stuff, and I have a hard time holding myself accountable for finishing projects. And I needed to finish these projects. I needed to finish my bridesmaid proposals and all these things. I was super excited about my ideas. So I wanted to make sure I finished them, and I wanted to be able to talk about them, but I couldn't talk about them to my bridesmaids because it was a surprise. So I filmed a little documentary or thought process style thing of me putting together stuff for my wedding, and I just put it out there. But in my mind, it was putting something into the oblivion. I didn't know anybody that was on TikTok. I was the only person of my friends that was on the app. I'm no one I know would ever see this. And it's just this huge app of people dancing. So mine's just going to be this personal little page where I can go back and show my friends, this is what I did, etc. And it kind of blew up, and I was wait, I was what do I do now?
Yeah. And so did you start documenting your whole wedding process?
Yeah. Once I realized that TikTok was going to be way more than just a place for memes and dances and stuff like that, I really went headfirst into it. I loved the idea of and we were just discussing this. In 2020, I don't think that anyone was getting a lot of wedding inspiration, myself included, utilizing a lot of Google and research and just hours and hours online. I realized that all of a sudden there was this opportunity to talk to a lot of other people getting married, to bounce ideas off of, to ask questions to share stuff that I'd spent way too long putting Excel sheets together on, and also for the personal purpose, which was holding myself accountable for completing DIY things and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were just saying when I got married in 2019, and there was nothing on Instagram. There was just Pinterest and photos and things to get inspired by, but they all kind of look the same. I had no idea where to find a wedding planner, how much things were gonna cost. Right. When I got my dress, I was oh, it's $1,000 for alterations.
Right.
What?
No one tells
you.
They'll tell you that in the bridal salon.
Yeah.
But that's after you've already purchased your dress.
Yeah.
The dress comes in.
Yeah.
And they're okay, so we recommend you go to this alteration specialist. It'll be about $1,000.
Yeah.
And you're wait, because maybe I would have budgeted that in.
Yeah.
When I bought the dress, I don't know. And at that point, it's kind of a lost cause. You do what you have to do. But yeah, it's crazy.
So when did this, be start as a fun thing on the side that you were doing, turn into your full-time job?
So it's a piecemeal story, which I think is honestly the best way it could have happened for me, because I'm somebody that craves stability. And I've been talking a lot about this recently with other women in my life. It is really difficult when you grow up very aware of the world and of society, and you know that you're smart and you want to always be able to provide for yourself, and stability, especially in a job, is very important. It's hard to take a leap of faith into something creative or that might not pay off.
Yep.
When you know that the downside, the risk is that you might not be able to provide yourself with that stability if you need to. Even if you're in a relationship and it's the idea that you should always be able to provide for yourself, there are 1,000 reasons. And so I had been wanting to leave my job for a while, and
What were you doing before?
I was in investment banking.
Okay, so very different.
Yeah, so very different. I've always been good at math, so I was fine at what I did, but I was bad at what I did because I hated the environment, and that made all the difference for me. I just wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't getting any job interviews because of COVID.
Yeah.
Everyone was on a hiring freeze, and I just felt so stuck. And I feel like I maybe could have left a little bit earlier, or maybe I could have left later, or maybe it was a combination of me really needing to leave my current job. But it was a lot of conversations with people in my life about how you can't put 2 feet into something until you take that last foot out of what's already draining you. So I think that I continued to set achievements in my head. Once I reach this, I'll quit my job. Once I reach this, I'll quit my job. It just was continuous, and I was never leaving.
Right.
I remember feeling so conflicted about this, and I was on the way to my bachelorette party actually. And my now husband was driving me to the airport, and I'm about to get out of the car, and he's like, listen, I know that you like have this drive to always be able to make sure that something's going to pan out. But like, I just want to let you know that like, when you get back, like you have my 100% support to just leave your job, wipe your hands, walk away, and put everything into this. And I know that you'll make it work. And if it doesn't work, you'll find something else, because I know you're capable of turning it into something good no matter what. And that's sort of when I walked away.
And that's like literally the scariest moment when you're like, I know I can't do both, because you're not giving all to your job and you're not giving all to like your creative outlet. But it's a scary, scary leap of faith to take when you're
terrifying
juggling both. But it seems to have worked out really well.
I think there was a great lesson for me that was like, work as a team, like with your partner, because one thing that I was looking at backwards was that I was in a situation of privilege instead of like a situation of conflict, where I was thinking like, if I have to rely on him financially for X amount of time, like that's something that scares me, even though he's 100%, willing to do it. In fact, offering it. It went against my like internal pull. And I had to switch my perspective to say like, actually not everybody has somebody that they could rely on for like 6 months or whatever while they're trying to see if something takes off. And I'm in a privileged situation to be able to have that. And so that was a big learning lesson for me, and like to work as a team in that capacity, because it has definitely paid off.
Going back to like your content creation on TikTok, so you were documenting your whole wedding. Did you feel like any sort of like pressure to have like the perfect wedding ever?
Yeah, that was unintentional, and it definitely happened. Like I said, there was no really like wedding TikTok when this all started, and then by the time I got married, that had totally changed. Yes, I do feel like there are some things I would have done differently up front if I had known that like was going to be the case. Like I never got a videographer.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, my whole life is on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, why don't I have a videographer? But at the time I didn't know that was going to be the case. So I never budgeted for one. But yeah, there was cutting down to the wire. I was like, I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
I was really willing to put in a lot of time and a lot of energy to make sure that everything panned out the way that I visualized, because I did have this pressure in the back of my mind that was like, I've shared all these ideas. Like I have to show how they turned out.
Right.
So mistakes aren't really like in the cards here, but luckily, I had like a great support system for that. And John operates the same way. Like he was like, work as hard as you possibly can so that when it's time to just wash your hands of everything and enjoy the weekend, like there's no voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, if I'd taken 5 extra minutes to do this, oh, if I'd worked a little harder on this, oh, if I'd thought about this.
Because there's so much stress when it comes to like your wedding day, and like I can't imagine like having to like document it properly, or like,
well, my entire thing from the beginning, I am sure we've all heard this, but when we were younger, like people would be like, the bigger the ring, like you know, the shorter the marriage, or like anyone that cares about a big wedding cares about the wrong thing. Like, I don't know if that's just a Southern thing, but people used to say that to me all the time. And I just felt like, what a weird thing to say. But I was really conscious to be like, I know the purpose of this. Like, I'm allowed to like be invested in jewelry and be invested in the planning process and be invested in the outcome, and it still be for the right reasons. So the whole time I was like, every single decision was about being intentional so that when that weekend came, we could fully enjoy it. And I think that's why the pressure was there, because I knew that sacrificing the enjoyment of that weekend was not an option or in order to get the content.
Right. Do you have like 3 like do's and don'ts for someone who's like starting their wedding planning journey?
3 do's and don'ts. I think for your wedding dress, only go shopping with your safe people. So like, don't go shopping with anybody you wouldn't normally go shopping with. Like, the first time you try on wedding dresses is incredibly overwhelming. You either hate them all or you like them all, because you've never seen yourself in a wedding dress before. Like, I don't care if you've gone to 100 red carpet events, it's different. So only go with your safe people and someone that's a good shopping advocate. You don't want to get pushed into anything. You don't have to buy it. I found my dress the first time, but I still didn't buy it for like a month and a half later because I just kept dreaming about it, and it started to like fit into my visions for everything else. And I was like, oh, it is the one. I definitely would say this is kind of like a hot topic, but if you know you're getting married and you're like planning an engagement, it's okay to book things before you're engaged. And I just want to like
work with a lot of
yeah
clients who aren't engaged yet but have booked venues.
I just want to clear that up. Like, I did it, and I asked the vendors, I was like, I'm so sorry that I'm doing this, you know, before I'm engaged. And they were like, you know people that have done this, and they would never tell you.
Yeah.
Like, I've booked people that you know, and they would just never tell you that they also did this. And I'm like, how crazy is that? Because it was such an internal battle for me to be like, how embarrassing to like book before I'm engaged. Meanwhile, everyone's out here doing it. They just don't want to talk about it. And it's different for everybody, but that was the case for us.
Interesting.
And it worked, and it relieved a lot of the stress of planning, I do have to say.
Because you're like, I have my venue, I have my date, which are like the 2 biggest things.
And like, planning a day is very difficult. We had to plan around a bunch of different like family events, and so I needed to book it very far out because I wasn't in the position where I could say, what do you have available? Yeah. I needed to say like, oh, I need this date. Yeah. So I would say it's okay to book things, you know, before you're engaged. And I think the other one, in a wedding wardrobe capacity, if you find something that you love and it makes you immediately feel like that feeling of getting married or that process, buy it, save it, and you'll use it. Because the rule of thumb where like, once you're looking for something, you can't ever find it. Yeah. It fully applies within the wedding planning process, and it hits harder because you're not going to have another opportunity to find that thing that you love. So if you find something you love, buy it and save it. There's nothing wrong with it. And it actually helps with budgeting because you're spending like less
at one time.
At one time. Yeah.
Any don'ts? Yeah.
Any don'ts? I would say don't let anybody do anything that make you do anything you don't want to do, first of all, but there's a nice way like of going about it. A don't that's also controversial that I did is don't go on your honeymoon the day after the wedding. Like, you're so tired. Like, even if I had waited 2 more days, I would have been better. And I think I would have enjoyed like where I was at more.
I think one thing, at least that happened to me, and I don't think anyone talks about it, is like the day after my wedding, I was so depressed. Yeah. Because I was like, wait, what? It's over. I was planning all of this and like, it's over, now what? So I think it is good to like have a honeymoon to like look forward to.
I've heard that too. Like, I have friends that have waited and they love looking forward to it. Yeah. And I just didn't feel good. Like, my stomach hurt. Yeah. I was like endlessly hungover. Yeah. Like, I had bags under my eyes. My face was puffy, and like all those things come to a head, and then you're just like, I just want to be in my bed, and it takes away from you being able to like be present like on this great trip that you're on. And you probably both feel that way, so you're probably both just relaxing and sleeping. But if you're going somewhere that you've really looked forward to going to for a long time, sometimes like it is better to wait.
Where did you guys go?
We went to Tulum, but we were planning on doing like a tour of Europe. But we got married in 2021. Everything was still closed.
So switching gears a little bit, because we are an engagement ring and jewelry company, I'd love to hear the story behind your ring and your proposal. Like, did you help design it? Like, how was the process?
I fully designed it.
Okay. So there's no stigma around that either, because most of our couples work together. But I think there are some people that are like, oh, I don't know if it's like the right thing to do, kind of like booking the venue, like if I should be involved or not.
You have to live with these decisions for the rest of your life. I just feel like it's so crazy that everyone is like, is this okay to do? Like, it's okay to do if it makes your heart happy, I think. But my ring, the most romantic part of like the engagement process for us was the first time we went ring shopping. Like, and not for the wrong reasons, but like it was more exciting than the proposal because I knew the proposal was coming.
Like, that's like the first thing. Yeah.
Like this was the thing that made it real. Like walking in there with him and like asking to try on rings, and neither of you know anything.
So did you know what you wanted before you started trying on? Like, had you like looked on things online?
Yeah, I kind of knew what I wanted. I think another tip of mine is to have as much as possible an open mind about everything you do, because what you see on somebody else that you like, whether it's a ring or a dress, is because they picked the perfect thing for them. And you're seeing like the larger picture of them picking something that fits them perfectly. So we love it because it looks just so perfect on them. And so we have to have that grace with finding the perfect thing for us. So I kind of thought I wanted an oval, and that was like as far as it went, but I tried on every other cut. And I also liked elongated emerald, and John liked a round, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna look good on me. And I tried it on, and he was like, oh yeah, like you were right. I mean, he's like, anything looks good, but I see what you mean. But that day was so honestly like surreal and romantic, just to be like, we're really like about to do this. And from there, I think we tried on rings a few more times, and I started sketching my like CAD for the ring, and then he found a jeweler to make the ring from scratch. And one thing that's interesting about the ring is that you really, if you do it together, you both get to know so much about it. Like, he is very invested in like the specs of
most men are,
right. And then there were just the things of like, is your band like 3/8 or 4/8? And a big do is to try on engagement bands when you try on engagement rings, because you don't need to
like wedding bands.
Right. Like you don't need to know exactly what you want, but you do need to know the style you want, because it does determine how high or low the ring is set. And so many people have to get it reset once they find the band, because they didn't think about
everyone's like, I want to set it as low to my finger as possible. And I'm like, well, think about, are you going to wear a wedding band with this?
Yeah.
Like, or not? I have to wear wedding bands on my other hand because my ring's set so too low.
Yeah. Like that happens all the time. And so I was happy that I did that. Like I spent a lot of energy with my setting, because I kind of knew what type of band or bands I wanted. And that's like the larger picture, because you're wearing that for the rest of your life.
So even though you designed it together, was the proposal a surprise, or did you know about it?
The proposal was a surprise, but it got canceled a few times because of COVID. So I think at a certain point, and that's really when we were like planning our wedding, because we had a conversation. He was like, I don't want to take away making this very special just to like do it, because I know we've already talked about what time of year works for us to get married.
And that's when he's like, book the venue.
Yeah. He's like, let's just start planning. So it relieved pressure from him, and it relieved like maybe like my thing where I would have been like, we shouldn't have talked about getting married next year if the proposal was going to be like all the way at the end of this year or whatever. It was the best decision that we could have made, because it sort of like let everything be the way that it needed to be. The proposal was a surprise. It originally was supposed to happen in a garden, and then like my family, everyone was supposed to have been there as a surprise, and then we were gonna like fly to Paris that night.
Oh, nice.
And so that got canceled when COVID hit. We were getting engaged, I think like a month after COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
So it took a while to kind of re-rig. And then there was one weekend he was going to propose, and then his grandmother passed away. So that was super unfortunate and sad. And I think on like the fourth time, my mom and his mom were like,
The fourth time.
You gotta just do it.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a time when we were at my parents' house and my sister was graduating. Someone's gonna call me later and be like, you're so wrong about this. And I think my mom pulled him aside and was like, I think you should just do it today. Do you have the ring on you?
On your sister's graduation?
Yes. And he was like, are you literally crazy? And she's like, you're waiting too long. And his mom is like, you're waiting too long. Like, you got to just, and I think he just wanted it to be so perfect. But when it did happen, it was definitely a surprise. He knows me very well. And I like walked myself into the trap. So yeah.
Awesome. So with that, we're going to switch and play like a little diamond engagement ring game.
Okay, so fun.
Hey everyone, Olivia here. Hope you're enjoying our episode. Our Clear Cut collection features fine jewelry pieces inspired and designed with you in mind. Our collection is ever changing and each piece is handmade and made to order here in New York City. Don't forget to check it out and use the code COZY, COZY, for free shipping on any purchase.
So we're going to play a little diamond game where we're going to rate engagement rings from 1 to 10.
Okay.
It's your personal preference, 1 being your least favorite, 10 being your most, and why.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with this one. It's a 5-carat emerald cut set with tapered baguettes in a platinum ring.
Wait, that's so pretty. Okay.
And yeah, you can try them on.
This is like definitely like an 8. I need to take mine off so I can actually put it on. This is definitely an 8 because I love how clean it is. Mm-hmm. Anything
it's like
that's clean, I love.
Step cut facet.
Yes. I love how clean it is. I love this cut. And the only thing that would make it better for me is if like the band was a gold band, because it just works better with my skin tone. Mm-hmm. But I definitely give this an 8, and I love how clean it is.
Okay, perfect.
I
8
love.
out of 10. The next one is a 5-carat modern cushion cut.
Okay.
This one's set on a rose gold band with a hidden halo.
Ooh. Okay, this is gorgeous. All right, I'm giving this one... Well, it actually looks better on my finger than I thought it would.
Yeah, rose gold.
I know. Okay, I think this is a 7 because I like a more like elongated thing, but I love the gold and I love the hidden halo. Mm-hmm. And I love how it just like reflects through so you can't even see like the band underneath.
Yeah, it's the crushed ice faceting.
Right. Okay, so the crushed ice faceting makes that better.
So this is the 7 out of 10. Next is also a cushion, but this is an antique cushion. Okay. It's an old mine cut. It's set in an antique platinum setting.
Ooh, that is gorgeous. Okay.
It's a more vintage.
It is more. I'm going to give this one like a 6.75.
Okay.
Because I like a more modern so I can play with the band more.
Okay.
Like I like to get vintage with the band or do something super exciting with the band. But that's why I like the clean cut. But this is... The cut on this is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very unique and like charming. It has big chunky facets.
I love the chunky facets. Okay, so maybe a 7 out of 10 for the chunky facets.
Okay.
I love that.
So we're upping it to 7.
Yeah, we're upping it to 7.
So both the cushions are 7.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have a 5.3 carat oval on gold band.
Okay. This is going to be my favorite because it's the most similar to mine. Okay. Yeah. This is definitely like a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. It's so clean and I love like the cathedral setting and I love the facets and I love the shape.
Okay, so if you were to take one home with you today,
it would be this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then you could do like the coolest bands with it and it's set like a great height.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about.
Yeah, and it's a plain band so it can go with everything.
It can go with everything.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yay!
Thanks for playing. Do you have like any advice for like a young woman wanting to, you know, start becoming like a content creator, like starting to post, but is like kind of hesitant or afraid?
I think everyone I mean, there's like the advice that's constantly out there. It's like, just start posting, just start talking. Like that is all 100% true. Something though that in real time helped me is pretending like I did not know anybody on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like I really, and I still to this day have to take that mindset with any social media. And while I'm completely aware that like I have, you know, friends from high school and college and whatever that are following me and like my friends' moms or whatever, I actively choose to believe that that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Still to this day, like.
But don't your like friends or like family like ever comment on?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's though has been like a nice byproduct because at first you're just so wrapped up in this idea that what you're doing is embarrassing.
Yes.
And everyone is going to be like sending each other like your posts and like talking about you. Like that just is something that we all think about. And so you have to actively choose to believe that those people just aren't even there. And then eventually they will start like DMing you very supportive things. And you're like, oh, I was in my head about that. But you can't really escape that fear in the beginning because anything that can hold you back will try to hold you back. So that's my tip. Just pretend like you don't know anybody on
like
the internet.
dance like no one's watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Where can people like follow you, keep up with what's going on?
I am on TikTok and Instagram primarily. And on Instagram, I am at Caroline Crawford Patterson. And TikTok, I am still at Caroline J. Crawford because there's a character limit issue. So I don't know what to change my name to yet, but one day.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.